Hey y'all, this is Chris with Rockin Farm. I've got a little bit of a special thing going on today. I was invited to participate in the 10 Questions for All Homesteaders collaboration. It was originally started by Kettle Farm, and from what I understand, they're actually compiling all of these videos that they find and hear about into a collaborative series. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I was invited to take this quiz by Mountain Heritage Homestead. Great folks over there. I love watching their channel. Their boys crack me up. I mean, you want to talk about almost like if stereotype is an okay thing, stereotypical country kids. These kids crack me up, and they're just a really good family, good values, good home country, simple way of life. I really enjoy watching their channel. So the thing behind this is that I am going to answer 10 questions. And I have my absolutely gorgeous wife helping me film this today. So she's not going to be on camera because, we've all talked about how she feels about being on camera. She can be on camera if she's just there. She can speak on camera if she's not actually being filmed. But if we try and film her while she's speaking, a lot of silence happens. So she's a little camera shy, but she's going to help me film this, and we'll see if maybe we can even get her to answer a couple of the questions as well. So, honey, what's the first question?
What's got you into homesteading?
What got me into homesteading? That's kind of tough to answer. It's a way of life that I always wanted to live before I knew that it was called homesteading. I guess we put labels on things, but I always wanted to live the way that my grandparents lived. Like a lot of people talk about like these doomsday preppers and stuff like that. I believed in trying to grow your own food, and I believed in trying to store your own food and saving up a little money for a rainy day. All the stuff that people call prepping nowadays, but our grandparents just called it the way you do it. So, our grandparents were kind of all homesteaders back in the day. And I also came from a farming background. See, I was a city kid, grew up in the city, but my mom grew up on a farm. And, I heard the stories, and I went to my grandpa's farm, and I saw the way that he lived, and I loved the property. And then when I met my wife, and her family had acreage out in the desert of the Phoenix, Arizona area, I liked being able to breathe. I liked being able to see the stars at night. So it's just kind of a way I always wanted to live. I can't really say there's a thing that got me into homesteading.
So what's something you want to add to your homestead in 2020?
Well, if I could only add one thing to the homestead in the year 2020, I would have to say it would be my mama's house. I don't think that's going to happen this year. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that goes into that. The prep work really takes more than a year. But, if I had my druthers and I could only add one thing to the homestead this year, it would be my mama's house. I would love to have her come live on our property. So if I can't have my mama's house on the property in this calendar year, then, shoot, I don't know. I mean, if you couldn't have mom's house, what would you want?
Our garden ready.
Our garden ready. Well, that's going to happen. So we'll have our garden ready in 2020.
What's the most difficult lesson you have learned so far while homesteading?
Oh, I would have to say the most difficult lesson I've learned while homesteading has been don't bite off more than you can chew. And that comes in all sorts of fashion. I mean, I've talked a little bit about, I chased so hard after this dream of owning this piece of property that when we first moved here, we couldn't quite afford it. I thought the numbers matched up, but they didn't really match up. So I bit off more than I could chew there. And then once we got the property, I had to work so hard to kind of try and pay for it that I didn't have time to do nothing on it. And then I decided I was going to take on projects that I didn't have the skills to take on. And then I got a small garden ready, but I didn't have time to tend to it. So by the time it got time to plant, it took me 3 weeks to get all the weeds out of it. So, just don't bite off more than you can chew. Come up with a plan, and then execute that plan, and then move on to the next project.
Your favorite chore on the homestead?
My favorite chore on the homestead is actually something that I don't really ever get to do. I love feeding all the animals because You never see an animal happier than when you're giving it food. So I love going out and feeding the chickens and then letting them out of the coop, or feeding the pig and watching her snort and waddle over to her bowl, or watching the dogs run in from the fields to come eat food. I love feeding all the animals, but I have enough other stuff going on the homestead that feeding the animals is a chore that really gets delegated to my son. And in kind of a typical fashion, 14, almost 15-year-old boy, he don't really appreciate how special getting to feed the animals is. To him, it's a chore. He'd probably tell you it's the thing he likes doing least on the homestead. It's my favorite chore on the homestead, but I just don't really get to do it.
My favorite is playing with the chickens.
She likes going out and playing with the chickens.
Well, and I like picking vegetables too.
Picking vegetables out of the garden, yep.
What do you love most about the homestead community?
The homestead community, very supportive, very friendly. I think that I've noticed that I talk to a lot of people, and for me, when I say homesteading community, I'm really talking about YouTube, because I don't really know personally a lot of other people that are trying to do the things that we're trying to do in and around us. I've got a few friends back in Phoenix that very much live, or not even just in Phoenix, in Arizona, that live what you could consider a homesteader lifestyle. And, there's plenty of people here in Central Texas, but I don't personally know any of them. So for me, the homesteading community is very much YouTube. And, obviously you can only know somebody so much through film. Sometimes I think we kind of tend to show our good side on camera, but so whether I would love these people if I met them in person or not, I can't really say, but I can tell you that through the conversations I've had, the emails I've exchanged, the comments back and forth on videos, the support that's been shown, it's definitely a very friendly community and a very inclusive community.
Your favorite meal that you make?
So this one's a tough one for me, so I think we're going to have to ask each other. So my favorite meal that I make, I'm not crazy about anything that I cook. I think there's some stuff I'm pretty good at cooking, and I know it's good because I get lots of compliments on it. But my favorite meal that she makes is either going to be her homemade from scratch enchiladas, or her homemade from scratch chiles rellenos. She uses the poblano peppers for those chiles rellenos. And we don't stuff all kinds of garbage in them. We put some good cheese in them and fry them up with some farm fresh eggs. And oh man, I'll tell you what, my tonsils will just about beat out my brains to get to a little more chile relleno. So what's your favorite thing that I cook?
I just like that we cook together just random things, especially if it's from our garden. Like
Yeah.
our salsas, when we created our salsas from our garden, that was fun.
Yeah, for sure. We do a lot of that. We'll go out and pick the garden and say, just pick a bunch of stuff out of the garden and say, what can we do with it? Pop open the freezer and see if we got a chunk of some kind of meat and come up with something. So we do come up with some pretty good stuff, just cooking together and bouncing ideas off of each other.
What is your favorite holiday?
My favorite holiday, any holiday where the kids are happy. I love 4th of July because getting together with the kids and the fireworks. I love Christmas because watching the kids open presents, Halloween, taking the little guy trick-or-treating. So really any holiday where the kids are happy and having a good time and we're together as a family. I mean, if I have to pick one, I'll probably say Christmas, just like everybody else.
I like every holiday that I don't have to work and I can spend time here at home.
That's a good one too. Any holiday where we're off work and we're just here on the homestead together as a family, it's a good holiday.
Is your homestead where you intended to settle permanently, or are you looking to create a new one elsewhere?
I've learned to never say never, but I can tell you that I have got a spot picked under an elm tree out there where someday somebody's going to stand over top of a hole that has me in it and hopefully say nice things about me.
I'm not moving again.
She says she's not moving again.
What are some homesteaders that you follow and enjoy learning from?
Well, I'll answer this one from both of us. I don't know that she watches a whole lot of homesteaders, although when somebody likes and follows us, or when I do my homestead channels of the week, she definitely goes and checks them out. And then I'll be out there cooking and she'll come out and be like, oh, those people are really nice. And they seem like a really sweet couple. So, but when she watches YouTube, she's really into quilting and sewing, so she watches a lot of like quilting and sewing channels. For me, homesteaders that I watch are too many to count. And homesteaders that I learn from, it might kind of surprise you because I'm not going to name any of the big channels. I mean, like, I really enjoy watching Roots and Refuge, and I really enjoy watching VW Family Farm, and I really enjoy watching the Hollar Homestead. I mean, to be honest with you, they're probably my favorite. I just think they're a really sweet couple. But, you know, I mean, they're doing a lot of the stuff that I've already done. I can't say I don't learn anything from them. Like the first place that I saw stretching a cattle panel between two raised beds was on Jess's channel. So, you know, I mean, I'm not going to say I don't learn anything, but I think where I learn the most is on these small homestead channels that I'm starting to watch. You know, I mean, all kinds of really cool projects, you know, turning 5-gallon buckets into automatic waterers, or turning 2 pallets into a goat feeder, or, you know, learning how to make a system where you use, you know, wicking string to water your plants so that you don't have to go out there and water them every day. I'm learning that stuff on small channels. So channels like the 2 pallets thing, that was on Melvolas Homestead. The self-watering, all the hydroponics type stuff, I learned a lot of that type of stuff off of Jack Spirko's channel. And that's, I'm not saying he's a small channel, but I mean, he's a podcaster. You know, the YouTube is just something he does. I learned a lot, not necessarily off of the channel from Jim Cox over at Toonstead, but from Jim as a man. You know, I mean, the reason my channel is starting to grow is because he encouraged me to really start networking. And I've just kind of taken that networking bull by the horns and pushed it. So, you know, I've learned a lot from him as a person, not necessarily from his channel. So I guess that's the 10 questions, right? Yeah. I hope I answered them to y'all's liking, but that's the way I feel. So I guess it is what it is. So this is the part where I challenge 3 homesteads to go ahead and step out and answer these questions on their YouTube channels. And I'm kind of excited about this because the first one that I'm going to challenge is my YouTube channel of the week for this week. So at the end of this video, you're actually going to see their little subscribe button down at the bottom of it. So my YouTube channel of the week this week is Melvolas Homestead. I have a hard time saying it because I keep wanting to say like Melvolas, but it's supposed to be like Melvolas Homestead. So, because it's her name and his name is Nicholas, and her name is Mel. So, you know, Lynn and Nick over there. It's Melvolas Homestead. The way that the reason I have such a hard time is because she explained to me that it's kind of like saying marvelous. But every time I think about it that way, my inner Thurston Howell comes out from Gilligan's Island, and I want to be like, Melvolas, darling. And that doesn't work really well either. So then I try to say it regular, and I can never figure out how to say it. But Melvolas Homestead, they don't have a whole lot of content out. And I'm going to kind of push on them to get more video out and get more content out. Their subscriber count is amazing for where their the amount of content they have out is. But the content they put out is quality stuff, y'all. Like, I've been working at this quite a bit longer than they have, and they're shooting way better video than I am. So impressed with them, and I want to challenge them to answer this. I've also been talking a lot to Amy Dingman over at A Farmish Kind of Life. And I mean, this lady, she's already a rock star when it comes to, you know, she's written books. She's got a blog. She's got a podcast that's been going for several years and has, you know, 76 episodes. So it's not like it's a brand new podcast. She's got all that stuff figured out. She did YouTube in the past, and now she's like, you know what? I'm going to jump back into YouTube. She's really got the support of her family. So, you know, I mean, she's a I don't want to say a bigger channel. Her YouTube channel is like 600 and something subscribers at the time of this video. So she's considerably larger than I am, but she already has a very big following from all of her other ventures. But I want to challenge A Farmish Kind of Life. And the third one I'm thinking is going to be really fun because Jim Cox over at Toonstead is a cartoonist, but he's a homesteader. So he does cartoons about homestead life. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he is going to come up with to answer these 10 questions. I don't know if he's going to jump on camera and answer them himself, or if he's going to draw us a cartoon answering the 10 questions. I don't know what he's going to come up with, but Jim, I'm excited to see it. Don't let me down, brother. So Jim Cox over at Toonstead, Amy over at A Farmish Kind of Life, Lynn and Nick over at Melvolas Homestead. I'm challenging the three of you. Don't let me down. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. And until I see everybody out there again, this has been Chris with Rockin Farm and
Jessica.
Say it loud, girl.
Jessica.
Jessica, my wife with Rockin Farm. And we both hope that you will be happy and live healthy.